good. I knew that I would not.
AM 1220 KHTS, the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on AM 1220. I'm with Dr. Feldman. I'm Kyle Jennings. We're streaming live at hometownstation.com. And Dr. Feldman joining me in studio. We're talking about communication and how important it is not only for, the doctor to use layman's terms,
right,
for the patient so they understand and know what to do and know how to get better, but also sometimes people shut down when it comes to going to the doctor's office, nerves or whatever it may be. But we given a few tips on what patients can do so they don't do that once they get to the doctor's office. So we have right questions, right? Write down your questions.
Write down the questions. The next thing that we can talk about is, in addition, is try to get to the point. In other words, if you're coming in because your kid's got a sore throat or you've got a sore throat, then don't sit there and start talking about your backache.
Okay.
That's not why you're there.
Okay.
The way we schedule patients is in accordance with what their, quotes, chief complaint is. So if their chief complaint is they're coming in because I got to see the doctor, my throat is really sore and I got to see the doctor, then don't come in with a litany of everything that's wrong with your body. What you can do is say to the doctor, I'm here for my throat. I have other questions and concerns that I'd like addressed at some point. Here they are. How shall we do this? And what the doctor will then say to you is, look, let's take care of your throat now. Let's make another appointment to discuss these other things so that we can address them properly. Because don't walk in for a 10-minute slot and expect to find out about, why the baby is spitting up, and, oh, by the way, he's got a little boo-boo on his forehead, and, I don't like the way the foreskin looks on his penis, and and his left toe, it curls in. What do you think about that, doctor? The answer is little stuff set aside. Set those aside.
Those
for
are
your
well
regular
visits, type of checkup
right.
stuff. Yeah.
And that brings us to the well check visit. Now, most people know that kids go in for well checks. What they don't realize is that after they finish kindergarten, it doesn't mean they're not going back for another well check again. They still need to go in for well checks from age 6 upwards, but it's every 2 years if they're otherwise healthy kids.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah. So if they're otherwise healthy kids, they still got to come in every 2 years. Well, why if they're fine and they haven't been sick? Because every year new immunization recommendations come out, and that has been true since 1982.
Okay.
So things change. They may need one of the newer immunizations. Number 2, they come because when we do a well check on an older child, we look into things. We don't just say, so how you doing? Doing okay? Okay, fine. Yeah, you look okay, goodbye. No, what we're supposed to do is, how they doing in school? We're supposed to ask the child, do you have any friends? Do you play? What do you do after school? Because that's when we find out, oh, well, actually he's in karate. He's a black belt at age 7, and he's training for the national championship. Well, that will make us a lot more careful about the bone exam, folks.
Yeah.
Or a perfect example is one that happened to me with my own kid.
Okay.
This is my best one. My son was about 6 and a half, and his nasal allergies were killing him. He just couldn't. His nose was constantly running and sneezing and stuffy, and he was so miserable. He says, "Mommy, please take me to the doctors. I don't care if I have to get shots. I need to get this nose fixed." Okay. On we go. So I took him to the allergist, and he does the exam and everything, and we sit down in his office with him, and he says, so, how long has he been wheezing? And I looked at him, and I said, he's wheezing?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, he says, Mike, when you're out in the playground with the other kids, can you keep up with them all the time, or do you get short of breath and have to stop and catch your breath first before you can go on? He says, I always have to stop and catch my breath. And I looked at him and I said, Mike, you never told me that. He says, Mommy, you never asked. There you go.
Yeah. So another way communication is important is those well visits. They may seem, kind of weird. You think your kid's healthy, you go.
Yeah.
And doctors they have a different perspective.
That's right.
And they can notice things, and they have, better tool. I don't have a stethoscope at home. Things to check
that
ears.
Parents are not always aware of that somebody else might be able to ask your kid and get a better answer for. Or even if you did ask your kid, they may not have told you about it. Like, for example, with me, when I was about 10 years old, I broke the last of my 10 fingers that I'd broken. Because I played football with my brothers when I was a real tomboy.
Okay.
And I finally broke the 10th finger. I had broken
congratulations.
all other 9. And I knew my mother was going to go through the roof with me. But I knew that most of the time they just buddy taped them, so I simply buddy taped my finger. And when my mom asked, "What's that about?" and I said, "Oh, I got myself making potatoes tonight for dinner. No problem, Mom." Okay. And so she never found out about the broken finger. But I still can't bend the 4th finger at the tip because it won't go anywhere. So, kids don't always tell you, even if you ask.
Even if you ask, yeah.
Yeah, so... Yeah. You gotta ask, and you gotta have somebody else. So part of the deal is that you may be totally unaware that somebody's bullying your kid at school. They're just acting sullen at home. So when you're coming in for your well check, our job is to say, how's he getting along with the parents? How's he getting along with you? How's he getting along with his siblings? He's so mean to his sisters now. I don't know what happened to him. So I shoo the parents out, and I say, what's going on? Well, nothing's going on at home. Oh, so what's going on at school? He says, well, this little girl is she's mean to me.
Yeah.
Okay, bingo.
Yeah.
There we go. And, you find out stuff because as pediatricians, we take care of behavioral issues too.
Yeah.
And when there are severe psychiatric issues, we do too. Just this past week, my colleague, my associate, Dr. Wagner, had a parent come in, and we'd seen this child, for the last 4 or 5 years, various things, stomach aches and headaches and so forth. And this time they came in because they needed a note to say he couldn't take the bus to school because he was being hassled on the bus. Well, where does he go to school? Oh, he goes to a special school. It turns out the child was at a school for severely emotionally disturbed kids and has all kinds of psychiatric issues. Parents never told us a thing about it.
Never knew it. Yeah.
Never knew it. And maybe that's why he had all those stomach aches and headaches.
Yeah.
It's important. And when you come for your well check, please, for gosh sake, bring the shot record. For goodness sake, it drives me personally up the wall. But absolutely bring the shot record, please. We don't have always the important information. Now, if we've been taking care of your child from day one, we will have a record of all their shots. But if you've only been seeing us since the child was 2, we may not have the infant shots. So please bring those with. So bring your paperwork and bring an open mind.
And so communication is absolutely necessary for both doctors and patients. So we got to take a break. And we're going to steer away a little bit. We only have a little bit of time left after this break, but I want to talk. Winter is technically here. So
yes.
That means flu season, fevers, and all that fun stuff. And, well, not so fun stuff. And we're going to talk about that on the Prima Pediatrics Healthcare Hour on AM 1220 KHTS.